Welcome to Undecided on a Major or Career Direction. Our agenda today, we're going to cover some common myths and truths about career and major exploration. We're going to go over the key areas within career and major exploration, and those are know yourself, explore careers, choose a major, and get experience. And then we're going to talk about how to make a plan around all of that. So some common myths. Your career choices are lifelong decisions. There's only one perfect job or career for you. Your major will determine the rest of your life. The truth is, the typical American person has an average of 12 jobs in their lifetime. 29% of Americans have completely changed fields since starting their job after college. One major can give you several different career options, and a variety of majors can lead you to the same outcome. So many of you may be in this situation where you have many diverse interests. So maybe you're thinking about biochemistry, or maybe you're thinking about anthropology, maybe you're thinking about finance. There are just so many options out there, and it's hard for you to narrow things down. Well, the idea behind research and reflection are that you take all of these options, you research what is a good fit for you and your skill set and your interests and your personality, and you put it through that funnel and you help to narrow it down to some top career choices. So major and career exploration involves 4 key areas. First, you have to start with knowing who you are, knowing yourself. Once you have a good idea about your interests and your strengths, you can then explore careers around your interests and your strengths. Then when you can narrow down your career options, you can choose a major that will help support that career option. And then you can look into getting experience to help solidify that you are making the right choice for yourself. So we're first going to start with know yourself. I suggest that you keep a notebook, whether that is the old-fashioned paper pencil kind, or whether you have a document on your notepad or your phone or your PC, your laptop. Keep a running list of things that you feel that you're good at. Talk to yourself about what your key interests are, your skills, your goals, your hobbies. What feedback have you received from others? What do they say that you're good at? What did you do well as a child? What courses or subjects do you excel in? Look for key themes. When you write down all of these patterns, when you write down all of these things, hopefully you'll see some patterns. Maybe there is a commonality with helping people. Maybe you like to be around people. Maybe you want to be of service. Maybe you like working with objects. Maybe you like tinkering with things, fixing things. Maybe you enjoy working on your computer and working with data, working with code, figuring things out, working with puzzles. You might see a commonality that arises as you start documenting all your interests and things that you're good at. The other thing I strongly suggest that you do is take some free personality assessments. Now, these are the 3 top ones that we use. We have Career Explorer, and you'll see the links there. And all of these are based on psychological behavioral science. So Career Explorer uses an amalgam of different theories. 16 Personalities is another one that I enjoy. That is based around Myers-Briggs. And ONET, Interest Profile, is something that's put out by the government, and that uses what's known as the Strong Interest Inventory. So they each use different methodologies, which is why I think it's important to take the 3 if you can, and they will provide you information about your interests and your abilities and so forth. So it's really important to keep in mind that when you are taking these assessments, Think about who you are in a relaxed state. In other words, your shoes off self. When you're at home and you're relaxed and you are the true person that you are, think in that capacity when you're taking these assessments. And the reason for that is we want to get at the true you. Sometimes people compartmentalize and they're one way at work or they're one way at school and they're another way when they're at home. And that in and of itself can cause problems down the road because you want to be able to find a career that fits the true you. So take your time with doing an assessment. The Career Explorer is pretty lengthy. It'll take you anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. You don't have to do all of these in one sitting. You can do 15 minutes, come back, do another 10 minutes and so forth, but just take your time with it. Don't rush with it and don't overthink it either. Once you take the assessment, they will give you reports back that will tell you aspects of your personality. So here's an example of Career Explorer. Career Explorer will give you several different reports. It'll tell you your strengths. It will also tell you and give you some top suggestions for careers, and there'll be like 20 to 30 careers that are listed for you, as well as top degrees that you might be interested in. Now, this isn't a definitive list. It's just a suggestion of 20 or 30 to help get you going to explore further areas. So once you get your report back, you can click on one of those career options and it will give you an exhaustive list of details about that career. It'll tell you what that career does on a day-to-day basis. It'll tell you the salary, how to get to that career, and common employers of those careers and so forth. So it's a really valuable tool. Likewise, you'll get similar reports with 16 personalities and the ONET interest profiler. Okay. The other aspect, when you're searching for a career, it's really important to identify your values, especially if you're values driven, right? So there are many different values out there, and there's a test that I gave the link to here. When you look at these different, this is just an example of the different values. When you look at these values, it's tempting to say, yeah, they're all important to me. So it's good, but you won't find a job that has all the values that you're looking for. So it's good to prioritize your top 5 to 10 values when looking for a job. So I'll give you an example: autonomy or independence. Do you want to have autonomy around making decisions about your work? Are you interested in getting a high wage or a livable wage, which is very real in the Bay Area? You need to make money to be able to support paying rent, buying groceries, etc. Do you want work-life balance? Do you want to commute? Are you open to that? Or do you want something that's close to home? Maybe you want something that's virtual. Those are things to take into consideration. A variety of tasks. Some people want variety in their day-to-day job. Some people don't. Some people want more routine. They want to have a definite idea of the tasks that they are to do that day. Do you want creativity in your job? Job security, career growth opportunity, leadership opportunities. A lot of people may not be interested in leadership, but some are. And that's what you need to make sure you look into. When you get a job, you want to make sure that you have those opportunities for growth. And then for some people, it's really important that the organization that they're a part of is socially responsible. So are they giving back to the community? Are they donating to charities, etc.? So these are just some of the many values that are out there. If you go to this link, the 123test.com, there's a test. It's quite lengthy. Again, it will take you some time. It'll ask you to rank a variety of different values out there. The other thing to keep in mind is the environment. What type of environment do you think will suit you? Do you want a flexible work schedule, one where you can come to work at 9 a.m. or one where you can come to work at 10 a.m.? Or do you want something that's a little more stable where you have a consistent 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. schedule? Sometimes people have children, and so they're going to need to have some flexibility to work around their family's needs. Cultural fit. What type of environment? Do you want to be in a more casual environment? Certain industries tend to be more formal. So insurance industry or finance industry or banking, they tend to be more formal. Do you want something more casual, like at a .com, like a tech startup company? It's good to know the kind of cultural fit that you're looking for. What type of employer are you looking for? Are you looking to work in corporate? Maybe you want to work for nonprofit. Maybe you want to work in academia in the university system. Maybe you want to work for the government. Each of those has its benefits and its drawbacks. When you're thinking about an organization, do you want to work for a local organization, or do you want to work for a global organization? I worked for both. I worked for a global organization that had like 100 locations in like 100 different countries around the world. That in and of itself has its own challenges. When you're going to schedule meetings, you have to consider the different time zones. So is this meeting at a good time for somebody in Ireland, for instance, or somebody in India? Conversely, I worked for local organizations that served just San Francisco. And then I worked for organizations that serve just the US. So there's a varying different degrees. Maybe you want to work for a global opportunity because a global organization, because the opportunities. One global organization sent me on a meeting to Paris, France. So there are benefits, there are pros and cons of working for different organization and different sizes. Do you want to work alone? Do you want to work in a team? I've done both. My current job allows me to do both. What suits your personality? Do you want to work for a startup, or do you want to work for an established organization? A friend of mine worked at a startup. There's an element of risk that's involved in a startup. They could go bankrupt in a year. They may not be as profitable as they hope to be. She was in a situation where they had a very tight budget. You tend to have to wear multiple hats when you're working for a startup. And my friend said that she had to buy her own pens because the budget was so restricted. The other thing to think about is, do you want to work for a small, medium, or large organization? So I've worked for organizations that have maybe a head count of 50 people working for them. And I worked at a large organization where there were 300,000 people working for them. Those large organizations, I've learned from experience, that's not a good fit for me. There was a lot of bureaucracy, but there was also a lot of career growth. So, there's give and take. I found for myself, I like the smaller organizations. I like medium to smaller organizations because I feel that there's less bureaucracy and I can get to know my colleagues easily. So we're going to talk about exploring these careers. So once you've done the homework and you've taken some career assessments and you've evaluated your values and you thought about the work environment and a good fit for you, what's a good fit for you, you can start narrowing down some career options. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that it does take time to do all this exploration. So like I was saying earlier, it's a really good idea to take notes while you're doing all of this. So let's talk about ways to explore. So one is that you can research, you can read, you can use multiple online resources that I mentioned earlier. Another way is that you can talk with others who are in the field. And we're going to go into some detail about that. So after you've done your assessments, your self-assessments, and they've given you some career options, you can research each one of those careers at some of these websites that are out there. I like zippia.com. You can put in, say you want to be a technical writer, you can go to zippia.com, type in technical writer, and it will give you all the information that you need about being a technical writer. Again, these others are very similar. onetonline.org is a government website that has a lot of statistics around it. careeronestop.org is also another excellent website. We also have a website called What Can I Do with This Major? This is incredibly valuable if you are in a certain major and you want to see the different areas of work within that specific major. You can look on this website. So say you are a psychology major, you can go to What Can I Do with This Major, choose the psychology option, and it'll give you some resources about what you can do within psychology. Lots and lots of online tools are out there to help you. We also have our career website. We have a career path section. Now, I'll let you know we're revising this. So some of the links need to be restored. Some of them are no longer working and so forth. But there's an abundance of information here. So again, you can go to What Can I Do with My Major? Or you can check out the career exploration area on our CSLD website. I don't want you to get overwhelmed with all the resources that are out there, but I do want you to know of these resources so that you can pick and choose the ones that are appealing to you. What I think is one of the most effective ways to gather information about a career is to talk with somebody who is actually in that career. And one way you can do that is through informational interviews. Now, a lot of people feel intimidated about reaching out to people that they don't know, but I'll tell you from my own personal experience, I've had a lot of success. A lot of people are especially willing to help just because people like being nice. You know, they like paying it forward, so to speak. So what is an informational interview? Well, it's an interview that you initiate. So it's used to gather occupational information from those who are actually in the field doing the work firsthand. It provides information that you may not find from other sources. So as you're looking online, you know, through zippia.com and these other resources I mentioned, you might look up technical writer and you can read all about that. But they tend to paint things in a very positive light. So it's good to talk with somebody who might be a technical writer, for instance, to find out additional information that you won't find written anywhere. The other thing is that, most importantly, you're using this to build relationships. So you may not be able to find a job right away, but you're building relationships with this person, and it could lead to opportunities down the road. So when you're reaching out to people, it's best if you can do informational interview in person. Being that we have COVID and we're just getting around the corner from that, things are starting to open up. It still may be difficult to meet in person, but try to schedule a meeting if you can. It could be for coffee. It could be 15 to 30 minutes. If you can meet in person, if not, take what you can get. It might be a phone meeting, or you can do something virtually. So some questions that you can ask. I know for myself, I had about 10 questions that I would write in a notebook. And I actually took the old-fashioned paper pencil notebook with me, and I met with people. And as I was transitioning, I was interested in I was in human resources, and I wanted to transition to career advising. And I reached out and met with people who I had a career advisor in the past. I was laid off from a large corporation, and I met with a career advisor to help me get into a new job. And then years later, I wanted to transition to the type of work that she did. So I reached out to her, and she was very gracious, and she invited me over to her new office. And I asked her a bunch of different questions. I also reached out. I was thinking about the different environments where I wanted to work, and I thought it would be great to work in a university. I reached out to career directors at several major universities, and they were very gracious to allow me time as well. So some things you might ask to gather information about that job. You could say, what do you like about your job? What do you dislike? What does a typical day look like? What do you now know that you wish you knew when you first started? What skills do you use most in your work? What skills or education do I need for this role? How can I prepare myself? And is there anyone else I can connect with? Would you be willing to introduce me? You always want to do that because it helps to broaden your network. The one thing I want to stress is that this is not a time to ask for a job. You are gathering information, okay, and you're building relationships. So one thing that I asked, I was very curious about when I was transitioning from human resources to career advising. Do I need to get an additional degree? Everyone that I met with said, no, your psychology degree is enough. But then they gave me advice to get additional certifications. And I also looked at the various job descriptions. So that's the valuable thing about narrowing down the different types of careers that you want. I knew that I wanted to go into career advising. So then I could start looking at the job descriptions when I had that specific goal in mind. The people that I met with through informational interviewing and the job descriptions that I was looking at all mentioned some kind of certification in Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is a personality assessment. They also mentioned the strong interest inventory certification, which is also personality assessment. So I paid out of my own pocket to get that training and to get those certifications because I saw that there was a gap with my current skill set and where I needed to go. So likewise, I would say to you, when you start to narrow down the different jobs of interests, look at the skills that they're asking for. Does your current major help you get those skills? How do you do, it's called a gap analysis. How do you get from here to there? What area, where are the growth areas for you? Okay. And again, never ask for a job during an informational interview. It's about building relationships. I'll give you another example. I was working at Schwab and I wanted to reach out to somebody else, and she worked a building over. So I got to meet her face to face. We went to lunch. So, and that was very convenient because we just worked in the building across the street from one another. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. I will say, sometimes it can be a bit like throwing darts. Now, I've had tremendous success with informational interviews. People, like I was saying, they want to help. But then a lot of times it's not that people don't want to help, it's just they're so busy that they don't have time. So don't get discouraged if you don't hear back from people. I would say ask a couple of times. If you don't hear back, move on to the next person. Don't get discouraged. A great way to connect with people are to connect with alumni. So we have a source called Gator Connect. It's on a career website. And what that is a mentoring site where you can connect with alumni from SF State, and you can also connect with other SF State people. The other thing you can do is you can look on LinkedIn. And if you follow that link there, you can find our site, San Francisco State University, on LinkedIn. You go /people, you'll see all the people who have on LinkedIn who have graduated from SF State. So I think the idea of getting the same degree and or the same university is a great connecting point. So I mentioned the person when I was working at Schwab, and I met with the person that worked in the building across the street. She and I both graduated with the same degree. I have a degree in industrial organizational psychology, and I use that as a tool to connect. So I wanted to meet, I wanted to grow my network of other people with that same degree. And this friend happened to have that same degree. And she also was an alum of my alma mater. So I reached out to her, and that's how we developed a friendship. So it's a great introduction to connect with people. So if you go to LinkedIn, another way you can find people outside of university and degree is if you are interested in a certain career, you can look for people on LinkedIn by that career. So I just chose technical writer as an example, and I blurred out the names of people for privacy, but I put in technical writer, I filtered by people. There's some other filters in there. I think you can filter by location as well. And all these people popped up. Now, if I wanted to, I could send them a connect and I could write them a personal note, a quick note saying, hello, so-and-so. I'm a student at San Francisco State. I'm hoping to grow my network. I'd love to add you to my LinkedIn network. And that would be the first step. If they connect with you, if they agree to be a part of your network, then you can reach out to them and ask for an informational interview. And you can find out more about how they got into the field of technical writing, just for an example. Okay. Like I said, it sounds scary to reach out to people you don't know, but it's actually very, very rewarding. Like I said, people are very generous and they want to connect. So the next way to learn about a career is to get experience. I'm a firm believer in learning by doing. So you can read all you want, you can talk to people all you want, but the truth is you really don't know that job until you're doing something similar to it. And several ways that you can get experience, so to speak, is volunteering. So when I mentioned I was interested in advising, transitioning from human resources to career advising, I volunteered for an organization that is known for their career services, and they're called Jewish Vocational Service. I volunteered first. I did career, what did I do? No, I didn't do, I did resume. I reviewed resumes. I did mock interviews. I even volunteered to stuff envelopes for them for their upcoming events. I got to know people there, but I also got the feeling of what it was like working one-on-one with people. And I also made relationships there when I volunteered, and eventually down the road, they hired me. The other way to get experience is through internships and part-time jobs. So again, when I was transitioning, I had 2 part-time jobs because I didn't quite have enough experience to be hired yet in a full-time job. People were like, oh, there's always somebody more experienced than me. But I took what I could get to get experience. And so I was working 2 part-time jobs at one time. Now that you're in school, you can sign up for various clubs and organizations. So if you go to this website, sfsu.campuslabs.com, you can find all the different student organizations that are out there. There's There's civil engineers, there's fashion design clubs, there's computing clubs, all sorts of clubs that are out there in the different fields. And you can do a search and see what's out there, and you can meet with your fellow Gators to see if they have any experience and or connections that you can benefit from. Follow your hobbies and your interests. So your hobbies and your interests may also strengthen you for, depending on what they are, they could strengthen you for your career direction. I love this next option. It's to take a service learning course, and that's through the Institute of Civic and Community Engagement. They're also known as ICCE. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and you can get credits for it. So if you go to icce.sfsu.edu, you have so many options to serve your community by taking some of these courses. The last would be to choose interesting educational courses at SF State as well. Again, it's about doing that gap analysis, identifying areas of growth, also finding the areas of interest and getting experience in those areas of interest. So let's talk about how we align our careers to our majors. So it's really important. You are in school now, and it's really important that you use this opportunity to build skills and knowledge into a career, into an area where you want to go into the future. Okay, so once you gather all the information about the different careers that you want to go into, it's a good idea to look at a major that can support you. So this is just a listing of all the different majors that all the different programs that we have at San Francisco State. So there are many, many of them. So we have our bulletin, and you can check out all the different majors that we have that could possibly align to your career direction. And again, when you take the self-assessment and they give you some top career choices, it will also tell you degrees that will support that career direction. Okay, so first you want to try to understand your personality, understand what's important to you, narrow down your career choices, and then try to find a major that supports your career choice. Now let's talk about making a plan. So it's really easy to do all of these assessments, do all this research online, and then just leave it there without making a choice. And the important thing is that it's a decision that you need to make. Somebody's not going to make the decision for you. So the idea is that you want to make an educated decision, a well-rounded decision, which is why we're telling you about all these different steps. We want you to make a decision that is best for you based on your strengths and your interests, based on your values, based on the type of working environment that you want to work in. We want you to get as much information that you can so that you can start taking all that information out there and narrowing it down. And it's really important that you start to narrow it down so that you can make a decision. What I suggest that you do is choose 5 jobs that are most interesting to you out of your research. Now, of course, you can do more than that, but I suggest you start with 5 and keep notes and answer some of the following questions. Identify a job, say maybe it's a technical writer. What major would support you in getting the required education for that job? That would be something that you can write in your journal or on your laptop. What is appealing to you about this job? What salary range are they providing? And you can find salary information online. So that's pretty easy to find these days. What skills, knowledge do I need to obtain to qualify for the job? Again, do that gap analysis. Do I know anyone who I can speak to about this job? And really take some time to be reflective on these answers. If you're answering 1 or 2 words to answer these questions, that's not diving deep enough. So take some time. What is appealing to you about this job? Does it use your strengths? What strengths does it use? Does it use your interests? What interests does it use? What skills and knowledge do I need to obtain to qualify for this job? Look for job descriptions out there and see what skills they're asking for. What skills don't you have? Where's that gap? Again, use LinkedIn or Gator Connect to see if you can find somebody who is in that specific job that will be willing to talk to you. But it's really important that you just not leave everything at the research point. You can research everything and read things and then just not make a decision. It's really important that you move forward and start narrowing it down to make a decision in the career direction that you want to go into. Okay. Some last points to remember. No decision is set in stone. You can always change your mind. I've had 3 different careers in my lifetime. You can always pivot to a new career. Either you can build on the current skills that you have and grow to different positions within your career, or you can change careers entirely like I did. Continue to investigate different careers until one feels right and give it time. Again, take some time, be reflective, because research takes time. You don't have to do it all at once. Research one job, look into the job descriptions, see if you know anybody, give it time. Okay. Do not go where the path may lead, but instead go where there is no path and leave a trail. Words of wisdom from Ralph Waldo Emerson.